Well, it's that time of year. It is August and time to get everything ready for the fall garden. And so today I'm burning my vegetation and I want to show you how I do this. I do think it's a great idea at this time of year when I have so much coming out of the garden, probably about 300 pounds or maybe more of vegetation with corn stalks and weeds and just everything. It's a good idea just to go ahead and burn it. And plus it helps get rid of all of the insect eggs that might be in the weeds and in the old leaves. It gets really hard to just bag all that up and try to take it off. It's really important to take all of that old summer vegetation off or burn it. So I'm going to show you how I burn it. Right over here I have a burn pile, and we usually do a burn twice a year, and I do one in the winter as well with down wood. And I do use those ashes for potash for the garden. I'll include a link to that video if you want to see how I do that. Potash is wonderful. I don't use this ash for that though. This is just old, vegetation. I like to use wood ashes for my potash. Okay, so how I do this is I just have some downed wood from the woods. And you can probably buy some firewood. You've got to have some good wood to get you a really hot center fire going. And it might take you an hour to get that going, but it's got to be really, really hot in the center. Okay, so what I really want you to notice here is I have this fire going in the center, really, really hot, and then I have a ring of weeds and vegetation around it. And what I do is I like to put the green vegetation around the fire. And that first ring, there's two rings of vegetation here. The first ring will start to dry out. Put it out in a very thin layer and it dries out. So for instance, right here, this vegetation has been heated by the fire and has dried out. And it makes it a lot easier to burn it. Okay? So as I weed the garden, I put my vegetation around here in a very thin layer so that it will dry out and burn. Okay, so I just got some more vegetation, some more weeds actually, and I am going to show you how I add those to the fire. These are nice and green, just weeded. All I do is I just take the green weeds and I put them here on the outside, the very outside, in a thin layer. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and move in the first ring. This is crispy and dry, and now it will burn. Okay, and then I move in the second ring so it will dry. Keeping in mind you've got to keep your fire hot at all times, but you should be able to put in your first ring of dried vegetation without putting out your fire. If it gets too smoky, slow down, but just keeping it stoked like this, you're going to have a nice fire. So I want to pull in some of this dry, crispy vegetation towards the hot fire. It's been drying out kind of from the fire. Should burn nicely. You kind of dehydrated it, really, is what you're doing before you put it in the fire. So if your fire starts to smolder, just blowing it really good on the coals and get it going again. Okay, so I've been doing this for 2 days. I did it for 4 hours or 5 hours yesterday, maybe 6. And then today I've been at it 3 hours. So if you don't know how to make a fire, learn. Everyone should know how to make a fire. I think it's just a great way to burn green vegetation. I've always kind of shied away from it because I know you can smolder your fire very easily. But just remember to put your weeds, slowly work them in rings. Dehydrate the first ring, slowly add it to your fire, move in the second ring, dehydrate it, add another fresh ring of vegetation on the outside. I have put everything in here. Tomato plants, corn, stalks of corn. There's still some behind here. Here's some from yesterday. And like I said before, I burn wood for my garden every year in the winter. downed wood, and I put it in there usually January or February, and it does wonders for my garden. It will make your garden more alkaline, so depending on what you're growing, you may need to be careful about where you add ashes. Like I said, I'll include a link to that video so you can check it out. And also remember, always get your fire burning permit. You want to make sure that you're permitted to do this and that you don't start a fire, like a wilderness fire or something. So that is a very important point to make. Make sure you get your permit. Alrighty, thank you for watching. Have a beautiful day.